total eclipse. Now I understand all the fuss. Yes, this is Mark and Pete. I travelled to Spain to watch the sun disappear, and it turns out that rather undersells it. Mark and Pete here, two blokes with half an opinion. Now, here's our first thought.
Darkest moment. If you ever wondered what causes an eclipse, whether whole or partial to form an ellipse, it's God turning out the light to give humans a fright as an example of a total apocalypse. Ooh. Yes, well, millions of us were treated to a stunning spectacle recently on mainland Europe's first total eclipse for more than 25 years. What a spectacle. I hope you're wearing your special glasses. Well, the fact of the matter is that this is something that really has enthralled and captivated the public's attention. No more so than Mr. Pete, who is going to give his experience as he went to Spain. Mr. Pete, tell me about your experience.
Yes, now if you stayed in the United Kingdom of Britain land, you wouldn't have seen the total eclipse, which is, to be honest, really the only one worth being around for, because then you have the full effect. You get all the weird stuff because the moon directly covers the sun. Just a brief comment, of course, many people pointing out that points to the fact that there's a creator God who designed things. Why is the moon appear to be the same size? Well, that's for a talk for another day. The fact is, when I went there to Zaragoza, in fact, which is, somewhere in the middle of Spain, at a city that I hadn't heard of before I went there, I set up outside of the city, but there were loads of people in the city all set up to take photographs of this great event, Mr. Mark. And when it actually happened, which were in that part of Europe, was coming towards the end of its streak across the Earth, the eclipse's streak across the Earth. It was near to sunset. So about half an hour before sunset. So you had the eeriest time possible. First of all, you notice. I had a digital camera set up with a reflector lens, which was the equivalent of a glass lens of 800 millimeters length. So it was quite a good enough lens to actually take a picture of the eclipse, but you need to have a really strong filter for taking pictures before the actual eclipse because it's too bright. Then you have to whip off the filter at the time of the eclipse, because then you can see it with the naked eye, and you can
incredible.
expose your camera to it. So anyway, yes, just closing out my description of it. When it actually happened, yes, the sun goes dark. It's like someone's put a black disc over it, and so you reveal all this light all the way around it, and it looks frankly evil. And for a few seconds, everything's go dark. The birds stop singing, and it seems like an evil hand has grabbed the sun. Then it comes back again. Everything's back to normal.
So it was an apocalypse.
It feels like it, but only for a few seconds, like a mini apocalypse.
Well, I was going to ask you, because obviously, this sort of celestial event is something that comes upon people. If anybody hasn't really experienced this, or if you're maybe, a teenager maybe, and you weren't around for the previous ones, it may be something that, you can look at. We'll talk about the next one that's coming in a minute. But on the experience, what compelled you to do this? So I'm just curious as to why you felt compelled to actually go that far.
Well, the experience is great. Yeah, we needed to travel because there wasn't a total eclipse in Britain, so we needed to travel somewhere. It was a reasonable place to go. So there's a few different choices. But it was to take a picture of it. I know other people have taken a picture of it, but you try your hand with your camera and take your own photograph of it. That was really the reason for going, not just the experience. The experience was a bit weird, and in my mind, it got a round of applause from the people. I don't know if it actually did, but it felt like something of that nature. There's an appreciative reaction anyway from the few people around me. As I say, I wasn't in the city with everyone else, but there's still a few people watching it. So the reason to go there was to try and take my own photograph of it, which I have. and it's it's not better than anyone else's, but it's my photograph. So if you people want to join me at the next one, I'll try and take an even better photograph. And
Well,
it may be that you can see it. We're planning anyway to put up the photograph that we took there in Zaragoza as the thumbnail to this podcast. So have a look at that.
Well, more importantly, is retain your Eclipse glasses. Now, in the
Sure.
United Kingdom, they actually completely sold out. So, if you were one of those individuals trying to get the experience in the United Kingdom, you would have had the problem that if you'd run out of the glasses, well, maybe if you can find somebody who's willing to share or maybe give them away, why not grab that now? Because they are very valuable. Because when we start to think about the future, yes, save them for the eclipse of the century. In 2027, parts of the world will be treated to a total solar eclipse. And this is really, I think, very important, isn't it, Mr. Pete? Because you have to be in certain parts of the world,
Yeah.
but ultimately you will get the full experience. I think we
Yes.
should also clarify something, which is a really important point. Here's a science bits, folks. A total solar eclipse means the moon's disk will completely cover the sun and is expected to last for 6 minutes and 23 seconds.
That's a
Now,
lot
that's the
longer than
longest on the land since 1991, but
Mhm.
it's certainly worth considering. So, Mr. Pete,
Yes.
what's your guidance on anybody who needs to prepare for the next experience?
Well, yes. It depends how willing you are in these uncertain times to go to Egypt. Egypt is the place where it's going to be 6 minutes. So, or if you're not bothered about the exactly 6 minutes, you can get about 4 or 5 minutes in North Africa and the real southern tip of Spain. Now, I'm going to go to one of those locations. Obviously, I'll let people know near the time so you can come and join me. That'd be great. But I'm planning probably to go to southern Spain, probably not Egypt. That's what I'm saying.
No. Okay.
Probably not Egypt. I believe actually you could get a long length, long duration if you were to go to Gaza. I'm not planning to go there either. I think there might be other things
Hmm.
happening there. But yes, planning in advance. Yes, make sure you take your glasses. Make sure you seek out the spot that you're actually going to watch it from well in advance. And if you're going to use a camera, get a proper filter, not the filters. They're a little bit more expensive than a normal filter, and you can actually use a bit of film, celluloid that has just been treated in this way. But it must be a proper sun filter, very very strong. You can't see through it. In normal light, it needs to be that strong. So make sure that you do that. Otherwise, you're going to be ruining your camera by pointing it at the sun for a long time.
Yes.
So that's my main advice. Get ready, protect your camera, protect your eyes,
Yes.
and scout out places in advance. And when you actually get to see the sun, remember that yes, as Mr. Mark says, you the disk of the moon covers the sun. So the sun itself is covered, but that reveals the slightly dimmer gases that are being spouted off in all directions around it, known as the corona. The gas is being thrown into space from the sun itself, with massive nuclear reactions going on in the sun. At this time, there was a huge protuberance. As you look at it, if you imagine that the disk of the sun is a clock, about 9 o'clock, that sort of time,
Yes.
that sort of not time, that sort of position on the disk. There was a bright magenta pink light, which for the keen sciencey types listening to Mark and Pete, we do cover science subjects now and again. This is hydrogen being blown off into space at very high temperature. When it goes to very high temperature, the electron around hydrogen will go up to a high level and drop down again in its energy level around each atom. And it's that movement of electron between energy levels that produces all light. And it produces light of that very distinctive color, not white light. Hydrogen produces white light when it burns, but of course, there's no oxygen in space. It's like in space, no one can hear you scream. In space, nobody can burn, right? You in space, you just get um, these high energy levels causing that very distinctive color in a plume of gas that was bigger than the Earth. So it's fascinating to see. Who knows what you'll see next time? So don't expect to just you might just see the standard disc, but you may see extraordinary things happening, like we did this time. It was a bit like a
Yes.
diamond ring. It had like a ruby ring rather. It had the corona round forming round the moon, and then you saw this bright light poking out for one side. So yeah, don't expect it just to be boring, but boring as in it's the same as every time. It can be different every time. Worth going, I think, if you can spare the time and the expense to
Yes.
get to one of these locations. But it's not just the next year. There are more coming up as well. They're
Well,
queuing up.
indeed. But well, what's actually quite amusing to this is it won't be a surprise, but Spotify, yes, the
Yes.
streaming service, founded in the UK during this particular moment, the uplift of certain songs. And I have
Right.
to call out no surprise because Pink Floyd's Eclipse was
Yes.
there. Um, Bonnie Tyler's Total Eclipse of the Heart, what a surprise. But the
Yes.
one that really made me smile was Bill Withers, Ain't No Sunshine.
Yes. Just so.
Which I think was great. But anyway, so Mr. Pete, clearly what we're saying to everyone is get for next year, 2027, get yourself prepared, get yourself safe, get yourself in place with all your equipment, and just make sure you're not left in the dark.